Okay, good evening, everybody. If we could, we'll call the regular meeting to order and stand and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Everybody can hear me okay? Yes? That's okay. Oh, no, not that loud. That was a lot louder. Thank you. If I could get a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda?
All motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you very much. Pearl, do we have any blue cards? Okay, Jessica? Go ahead if you want.
You
You
go
can-
up and you turn that on so people at home can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me? Good, okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am here this evening to represent the students and families in our district that utilize busing to private and Catholic schools in our area. I am here to kindly ask the board to consider providing bus transportation to Bishop Ludd and Grimes beginning in September of 2025. On February 27th, less than 1 month ago, the Syracuse Diocese officially announced the closure of Bishop Grimes Junior-Senior High School. The diocese then announced they're merging Bishop Grimes and Bishop Ludden Junior-Senior High School. The merger to Bishop Ludden poses a logistical issue to current and incoming students that reside in the Central Square District. Bishop Ludden is located 17 and a half miles southwest of Brewerton Elementary, the southernmost school and pickup point in our district. The current mileage radius allotted for private and Catholic schools in the Central Square District is 15 miles. Thankfully, Bishop Grimes met this need for our students, and it is only 14 and a half miles southeast of Brewerton Elementary. There are current and incoming students to Bishop Grimes, now Bishop Ludden Grimes, that reside in our district that rely on the busing currently provided. The parents of these children, including myself, are asking that due to the unexpected and very abrupt closure of Bishop Grimes, that you will allow Bishop Ludden Grimes to be included in the private and Catholic school busing radius and extend the current 15-mile radius to 17 and a half miles. We are hoping not to disrupt our current and incoming students' educational landscape that they have experienced at Bishop Grimes and other small Catholic elementary schools. We accept and understand that a more substantial mileage radius, such as 7 to 10 miles, would likely not be an acceptable ask of the district. Since the merger is only a 3-mile difference between Bishop Grimes and Bishop Ludden, we are hoping to get approval for the proposed mileage adjustment. Also, the other parents and I have discussed having one pickup point for all Bishop Ludden Grimes students at Brewerton Elementary. Currently, any students that reside within 15 miles of Bishop Grimes are eligible to be picked up from their home. This one pickup point proposal could actually reduce the total amount of miles driven for the current Bishop Grimes bus run. In closing, we understand that it is not required of the district to provide busing to private and Catholic schools, but we want the board, the taxpayers, and residents of the Central Square School District to know that we are all extremely, extremely grateful and appreciative that our district does offer our students busing. We also want to note that if our initial requests cannot be accommodated, that we are willing to pay a transportation stipend or something along those lines for the added 2.5 miles each way for busing costs. Thank you, everyone.
So typically we don't respond when someone, but what I can do, so you know that you've been heard, is that I can ask legal, because there are some things that the board doesn't even have the purview to make a decision on, or it would be considered a gift of public funds. If the board does, when I hear from the attorney, what we'll do is we'll put something out not only to you, but we'll put it out. We'll put a message out to all of the students that attend Grimes,
Okay.
so that they'll be able to know what the response is. I had another parent, speaking of Grimes, ask me, sports. If the school is dissolved and they were to come here, would they have to sit out a year? So there's so many questions regarding the whole Grimes situation
Okay.
that we're going to work through, but I assure you, in a very timely manner, hopefully tomorrow, I'll be able to get that information out,
Thank
okay?
you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah, is that a policy?
That's
The
what I need to
15?
look into.
Okay, all right. Perfect. Thank you so much. Normally, it's not this big of a crowd, so you did well. Okay, we have, up next is a special presentation to the board, our staff recognition for 10 and 5 years. We ready?
Yep.
Okay.
We win. Everybody ready? Okay. So yeah. All right, so we are going to congratulate all of our employees who have been with us for 10 years, and we have a presentation, so their pictures are up here on the screen, and we are going to call them up. For those of you who are new to this, you're going to come up and you're going to make your loop around the board, end with Tom, and then go on back. Ready? Okay. Colleen Avery, 10 years. Yep, go right. Laura Gadisi.
Make me crank my head. I want to make sure that we're not here. You know what I mean?
Susan Hammond. Okay. Bonnie Jean Harding. Hans Holst. I know he's here. Your team did a great job breaking all this down, too. They did awesome. And Hans's crew this room was filled with tables and chairs that ended at 3 o'clock today. So they whipped it. You should see him shovel snow for the roof. Ainsley Kendall. Beth Kring. Michelle Minkler. You're 10. Yeah, 10. Heather Monica. Ellen Paradise. Deborah Redhead. Deborah Southworth. Jackie Straub. Tammy Vaughn. Chris Warford. Lynn Whitney.
and Felicia Warlock. And Mrs. Enright is going to read the 5-year recipients.
Okay, I have a long crew here. Yes. Anna Adamski. Melissa Barcombe. Congrats. Heidi Blydenberg. James Burton. Donald Kahn. Sherry Duran. Kristen Dolly. Donald DeYear. Elizabeth Dow. Jacob Essel. Stephanie Fazzino. Tracy George. Juliana Gadisi. Shauna Hewling. Matthew Klein. Amanda Ladd. Ruth Laird. Jason Lloyd. Maida Lucas. Veronica Mainville. Samantha Merriam. Casey McManus. Kathleen Moricelli. Gloria Plants. Catherine Pusha. Susan Reichard.
It's only 2 years for your dog. It's got 3 more years.
Jen Roberge.
Oh, yeah, pictures and everything.
You look good. Andrea Rudd. Sarah Shar. Angela Stark. Julia Story. Ryan Strader. Victoria Taylor. Jean Marie Thayer. Jillian Thakee. Pamela Thomas. Matthew Wexler. Alma Widger. And last but not least, Chrissy Smith. Congratulations to our 10 and 5-year recipients. At this time, we're going to ask the 10 years to start with a picture right over here with Brandon Wood, and then the 5 years, and then we'll celebrate with some cake.
Cake makes everything better.
Band's doing something. Here's a presentation.
Five-year staff members, I'll take notes. Over the February break, they were referring to band pieces. Well, he's gonna more than possibly. So what I did is.
I got brownie.
So the concert is the beginners. Well, that was a bummer of a couple years. And I couldn't start any beginner time. And I just started thinking of like,
I mean, I don't know if you can have food in your mouth or how fast you can eat it. Brownies at home.
Right, to announce.
They're both doing well. Sophia went back yesterday. She takes the train every weekend or every other weekend, whenever she feels like. And she's she's still trying to figure out what she wants to do.
Debating?
Well, it is. I think by the end of this semester, summer off, start getting a little more focused. But 3.7 or 3.8 first semester, love it.
That's usually the hardest semester is the first one.
Right now, right?
Yeah.
She's just, she wants to like. No, I think Isabella has become more. Right there, Isabella's like. In fact, she's got a.
Okay, if we could get started back again. Next up, we have music presentation.
So if we can have Ron Haldeman come to the podium, the floor is yours. Actually, you know what? Before you go, Ron, one of the reasons why the Board of Education, we were highlighting athletics, and we were highlighting our amazing fine arts program that encompasses so many different bands and choral groups and whatnot, is because it's super important that everybody in the community knows that this district supports not only athletics, we support fine arts, we support, students can graduate from high school with literally an associate degree. So why is it important to talk about this now? We're coming up on budget season. So I was thrilled when the board had asked, Ron to come in to give a presentation about this, because there are so many students that go to Central Square that are involved in band, in other parts of the fine arts program. And we had done this Board of Education did Forecast 5 did a study, and a couple years back, right before the pandemic hit, we talked about the importance, and it was something like students that play an instrument that are involved in chorus or play an instrument, their average GPA at the high school was 94.5, which just speaks volumes to the hard work that these students and instructors put in. Ron, now the floor is yours.
First thing I'll say is I just want to thank you as the Board of Education. We have a community show tomorrow that you're all invited to. I know you got an email from me, but it's their exhibition performances. Five groups this week from 7 to 8 o'clock. That's what we're looking at. Okay. I have the boarding part tonight, just so you know. All right, I have the slides. We do have some students who are going to and just getting started here, I guess I had the clicker I was waiting for. The district vision statement, you're all very, very familiar with it. So I won't, but everything really supports the vision. Guiding principle, this is what guides our, basically our day-to-day operation as far as why we do what we do, okay? And that's general music, it's chorus, it's band, it's all the ensemble. Opportunities, create opportunities for all students. The opportunities, it's somewhere in about the middle there. It talks about creative. That's elementary school, guitar and keyboard, and percussion, creating, improvising, responding to music. There are about 37 performing ensembles. Music department concerts, you can see there the elementary concerts. Every year. Opportunities. Just came through this, the District 5th, 8th. Every part of teachers. All right, that's the boring part. All right, good. All right, now we get to the fun stuff. All right. First of all, Veronica, this, I know that she's not. Veronica earned the or won the music educator. Clear indication of somebody going the extra mile. For vocal jazz, they went to jazz group because of this award.
But there is going to be a video on their website as well. Also, my mom taped it.
And if I could, I have a little inside scoop. The gentleman that was running around with the camera during your award is my nephew. So he has put your whole story production is all done, and he's going to let me know when they're going to air it. So it's all set. He sent me a message last week.
But that
so.
had nothing to do with her winning it? She
No,
did that?
no, on her own. Absolutely. But he was a Central School grad, so, yeah.
Additionally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention going and the district has back.
There is no way when I was your age that I would have the courage to stand up there in front of a room full of people. Great job.
So I have a very talented student from
What grade are they in? What grade are you guys in? All right, when you're in high school, you both of you have to do the exact same thing. Well, hold on for a second. So before Ron leaves, and it's been public knowledge because when people retire, the board approves that. So I'm running out of time to publicly be able to do this. I'm going to do it a lot more. Ron, how many years you been in the district? 23 years. Casey's former teacher. Amazing. So Ron is retiring at the end of this year. Here's the thing. I came here 10 years ago. I see Ron's passion, whether it's in the Dome, everywhere. He's everywhere. There's a concert that's there, Ron is there. Ron, on behalf of the entire Board of Education, the entire administration, it's kind of like the movie Mr. Holland's Opus. You're like that. You have impacted so many people, and it's going to be impossible to replace you. You're not replaceable, and we want to thank you for everything that you've done for this district. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and you're more than welcome to stay for the budget presentation.
Or you can just remind everybody to vote in the
Yes,
sprint.
please vote.
Seriously.
Yeah.
All three of them. We'll talk about that today, too. That was awesome.
Oh, it's fantastic.
So much tape. Huh? All right. So before we get into the budget and the numbers and what tax cap, the whole 9 yards, what you just saw is another perfect example on why communities need to support their school budgets. So whether it's a kid that finds a niche in athletics, whether that kid goes on to play college sports or beyond, because we've had some amazing athletes here go on and play in the professional levels, or they just what they gain from playing sports. Same thing with our fine arts program. Whether they go on, and we've had many students that get scholarships to go on to colleges for performing arts, and what they do after that. We've had students go into Broadway, just phenomenal things. Again, even if they don't go to that next level, it's the memories that they had, it's the overall package. It's not just the courses that we provide here and the amazing things that you can graduate. You can get a associate degree from CCC, OCC, pretty remarkable things. If you haven't seen our course catalog, and again, huge shout out to our high school administration under the supervision of Dr. Sweeney, what Aaron Phillips and Kristen Enright have done instructionally as well, looking at the courses that we have to make sure that they're very rigorous. And if you put our course catalog next to other districts, you would be very pleased to see what they've been able to accomplish. One of the best business programs, again, DECA is shining currently. We've had several students that not only won at DECA that are now going on to Orlando, doing wonderful things. So that's one part of the why when we talk about a budget. The next part, I believe I sent this to the board, a link. I'm going to email it to you all as well. And I actually want to put it on the website because more people need to see this. When you look at Oswego County, now that's 35 slides into where Pearl has it right now, you're going to see some pretty tragic stats that lead into the fact that if it's not happening at the school district level, unfortunately, we can't ask the county to do it. I would love for the county to be able to play a more active role. I would hope that the state, that the governor could look at what upstate New York has been struggling with and provide and allocate us with more resources. What that slide right there is severe depression, they were able to say. And as you can see where Oswego is, skyrocketed to the top of that. Pearl, if you can go down to the next, what I wanted you to look at. So again, as you scroll, you see food insecurity. We know that is a true pandemic, that areas have been hit hard. Again, Central Square, when we had the pandemic, we not only had the food for food distribution that they would have received when they were at school during the closure, but we had a separate day. And we put it out there, and literally our middle school, because everything was closed, the cafeteria tables were full, stacked, 3-4 feet high with food. That we then went and had different locations at different pickup spots. I positioned myself at AA Cole back then, and I just remember sitting in snowstorms with the administrators, and we were distributing that food to the families that were extremely appreciative. It's a huge thing. My wife runs where we live the backpack program. We have an amazing backpack program here in district as well, because food insecurity is a legitimate thing. And when I have to look at snow days, that's something that we do struggle with, because we know that some kids, the best meals, unfortunately for some of the kids, not all, of course, but some of the kids, the best meals they get are here. For some of the kids, the best interactions they have with adults are the adults in our schools. And when they're deprived of that over vacations, snow days, summers, it's very hard for them to adjust. Pearl, if you can go to the next one that I asked. Yep, right here, suicide. So unfortunately, when you look at this slide, children aged 10 to 19, if you look at, this compares all of counties. What Roseanne Bain from City BOCES has just highlighted ones that are local. Oswego County is first in that. Overall suicide rates, you see Oswego County, again, 12.6. Oswego County was actually, a couple of years back, #1 in the state when it came to this. So if you ask around, there are a lot of families that have either been closely impacted or they know a family that this has been happening to. And so that's one of the reasons why we want to have as many opportunities for students to be able to feel engaged to their school community. Some students, again, it could be through academics. They have that teacher that they love, and they make learning come alive for them. But for other students, it is that sports coach that they had that made a difference, or the band instructor. Again, when you look at these health factors, Oswego ranked 61st. So when you're looking at all the counties. And why did I show this? I showed this because so far I've been able to meet with Senator Chris Ryan. I've met with a couple of our board members that were there as well. We met with Will Barkley. I've talked to Al Sturpey about this, because when the state put out their numbers, Central Square only got a 2% increase, right? So when you look at that, people can say, well, at least it wasn't flat. But when you look at the cost of living changes every year, when you look at the massively high inflation rates, that 2% for us to offset the 6% increases every year for all of our bargaining units when it comes to health insurance, we won't be able to sustain what you just saw from these amazing students today. Or the students maybe that weren't here today, but with sports, or the kids with DECA and doing those wonderful things. Because when it comes down to it, we have to stay competitive. When I came into the district, our unions, most notably the largest union is the teachers union, was in the lower echelon for salaries in the county, all total packages. Now we're not, we're at the top. And the reason why that's so important is because we used to have advertise a job opening, let's say a math teacher at the high school. We used to get 100 applicants or more. Now we get about 6 that are certified. And why? You go to the local colleges, it ebbs and flows. It's a cyclic pattern. So sometimes they pack the colleges to be in educational programs, and then other times it just changes. For a number of different factors, it changes. But right now, it's been pretty low. And when I go to these colleges, or Aaron and Kristen Enright, we talk to these people, we talk to students, and it's demoralizing. Unfortunately, you've got coaches that don't want to coach And this is not just a Central Square problem. You have teachers, because of regulations that come out by New York State, that on paper they may look good, but when you actually apply them, it causes more harm than good. It's like a Rubik's Cube. You think you've solved a problem, but you don't know what's happening behind the scenes and the long-lasting effects. So when we look at the school budget, and you ask, why are we only getting a 2% when other districts are getting 6%, 8%, 9%? The reason for that, one of the big factors, is because many of those districts, there's some variables like small cities got more money, but overall, what we've been told by experts is that this district, like no good deed goes undone, rarely goes to the cap. So we went 2 straight years without raising the taxes. Why did we do that? We had the money from COVID money. We felt that we did not want to pass the hat when we already knew the families, especially during the pandemic, people were furloughed, wages were reduced dramatically out in the private sector. So we chose not to do that. Then last year we went as high as we could, half as high as we could have for the tax cap, which hurt us with the formula even more. So we had many administrative kind of cabinet budget discussions. I was very happy that Board President Steve Patch and Board Vice President Christy Fishman sat in on one to really get an understanding of what this looks like. And hats off to Maureen. She can't be here today, but we've had many, many conversations during the school day, after the school day. I'll call her up, and we're looking at everything. But really what it comes down to, with a 2% increase from the state, we now need to go to our tax cap. That is our recommendation to do, because when you don't do that, you're leaving the money on the table to fund these programs that we see right now. There isn't a single student that is in our district that wants to take a dual credit college course that would be turned down for the college portion of that. The district pays for it. To not do that, we'd be hypocrites, because everybody sitting around this table believes that there shouldn't be the haves and the have-nots. That should not play a role when education should be the equalizer. So if this was a student that could afford to pay the college tuition part, the parent was able to pay that. I don't want to put you on the spot, but Kristen, give me a number of what that, since you've got college, you've got students, your own children that are taking it, what's that cost? I was going to say about $385, right around there. So there were families that the kid would only be sitting in that college dual credit course for the high school credit. That student can get an A. So let's say this is a student that got the A, and family could afford that, but my family couldn't. So I got an A as well. Except when I was fortunate enough to go to college, my family's now is paying $2,500 to $3,000 or more, depending on where they're going. And I've spoken with many parents. One of them, I know he wouldn't care me saying, former board president Andy Martin had said, hey, thank you, because I saved $47,000 because all of the credits went with my daughter. I believe it's University of Buffalo. She's doing pre-med. That's huge. Again, it's investing here, and then down the line, you see that investment, right? I firmly believe that. And we're going to get into the whole presentation, but I just want to put some numbers out there. If the district went out with a 3% increase, that would be $40 for a $100,000 house, $80 for a $200,000 house, okay? And that would bring in $962,244. That's if we're at 3%. If you talk to Maureen, again, none of that helps us when you look at we're only getting 2%. It'd be a different ball game if we were getting 4 or 5% like other districts, but we're not. When we got that money, we went to the community and said, we're not raising you at all for 2 straight years. If it was a 4%, it would be $54, so it's $14 more. So it'd be $54 for a $100,000 house, okay? And that would bring in $1,282,933. Again, that's going $14 more for a $100,000 house. $28 more for a $200,000 house. Now you want to look at 5%. If we were out at 5%, that would be $67 increase for a $100,000 house. which would bring in roughly $400,000 more than if we went out with 4%. It would bring in $1,603,743. If we went out with a 6% increase, it would be $81 on a $100,000 house and bring in $1,924,488. If we went to our limit, which is the formula that the state believes we can afford, it would be $92 increase on a $100,000 house, and it would bring in $2,200,104. So the levy is pretty much exactly where it was last year, and it's pretty much close to where it was 2 years that we went with zero. So if you think of those 2 years with zero, we left $5 million on the table. But we did it for the right reasons, because at the time we were getting 4.5%, what we're not getting now. So when you look at this and you look at some of the things that I hear the most from frustrated parents, we have no room in our facilities. We have no room for youth sports. We have no room. Our sports practices can't start until 8:30 at night, right? That's late. We understand that. So band wants to be able to, practice. They want to be able to get on the turf. We don't have an indoor facility. Like other districts that didn't go 13 years without a capital project, they're now able to do those things. But one quick little caveat about that, because I hear people all the time, hey, can we do a huge capital project for an indoor facility? That would cost a citizen that wanted to do that anywhere between 10 and 12 million. It would cost the district about $45 million, because the process of capital project for schools and anything where the bureaucracy is in place, you can quadruple that number and you get no state aid because there's no regular students that are in there. So if we were to ever do something like that, we would have to go to the community. Places like FM have done, Skaneateles have done. They get a minuscule amount from the state aid. So they get their money on the assessments in the property taxes, but we don't. So we would have to literally go out with an astronomical supermajority vote, and the supermajority votes I see never pass. So I'm going to go through this. Maureen helped me put this together. She's a genius. But I want you to think of everything that I just said to you for the past 9 minutes, because that's really what it is. I want you to remember the kids that were here playing, their instruments and all the years that went into that, and the doors they're going to open because of that confidence level that you saw all of them have. So much more than just playing their instrument. So now, Pearl, if you want to jump in. Oh, I have it, don't I? Okay. Fair enough. Oh, sorry, let me back up. Okay. As you can see here, one of the make sure that's the first, yes it was, okay. So one of the notable things here is the 5.4% increase to next year's budget is actually a smaller increase than we went from the 23-24 to the 24-25 budget, which was 5.93 this year. To remain competitive with the other school districts, the last go-around with all of our units, including our teachers, was a 4% raise. So there was a time when people would look and go, oh my God, a 4% raise, that's unheard of. They're usually like 2 or 3. But now with inflation, you see other districts, they're going out with 4.5, 5%. But some of them, they're not where we are. They're having other districts right now that you see going out with 5, 5.5. They are where we were 10 years ago at the lower end. But we still have to be competitive. We still have to put the great teachers in front of those students in those classrooms. Right here, this slide is just all of the details that you saw on the previous slide. Note that the foundation aid at 2.07. Originally it was 2, but what also plays into that is the debt service when we have, our capital projects and whatnot. Maureen's always talking about debt service and why you want to keep it, keep those capital projects going year after year. That's just financially smart to do so. The current year's foundation and increase is 3.74, which is $700,000 more than we got this current school year. I'm sorry. We got $700,000 more in this current school year than we're projected to get next year, and that hurts. That's $700,000 less than what we got in this school year. After this board meeting, what's going to be posted is all of the details, a very thick packet that all the board members have, and it goes on the website that literally breaks every single line item down. So fringe benefits. We are doing very well. Maureen, and again, I give Maureen all the credit in the world when we negotiated all of the health benefits. We're starting to see that was a really wise move. So the actual health benefits, again, insurance always goes up. It's projected to go up 6%. Debt service, that's what you often hear Maureen talk about. It's increasing significantly because it correlates to the building aid increase, both due to the capital project phase 1 finally being completed. Also, you see City BOCE's services increase of 6.54%. That's related to all of the CTE programs that we send our students to. When I had come into this district, it was capped. I want to say at like 75. We have 175 students. That's a really difficult thing to say no when a student knows that their family were in that line of business. Maybe they were heavy equipment, or maybe it was, engineering, or maybe it was electrician, or maybe it was right now industrial electrical, or maybe it's nursing. And we have students, children of board members that have benefited from going through the CTE route that are making decent money right now. They're really doing a great job. And again, we get aid back, but you have to have that money built into your budget first. You got to spend it to get it back. All right, this right here is the expenditure detail page. But as I just alluded to, after this board meeting, it's going to be posted. You're going to literally be able to see each line item in great detail. And then the note that Maureen wanted me to remind you to say is, if any of you have any questions at all, please let Maureen and I know sooner rather than later so that we're ready to adopt the budget at the April board meeting. %, or $75,394,105 of our budget. It goes to salary and benefits. So when you look at $100 million budget, you got to look at the fact that we are the biggest provider of jobs in the area. You have to look at the fact that salaries and benefits, you can nickel and dime like some districts do. I must have been called, I don't want to say the district, but there's a certain district where I had 5 different teachers contact me today. Pearl can attest to that, from the district, because they want to get out of that district because their health benefits and their overall salary pales a comparison to what most districts do. And these are great teachers. The goal is, and the most important person in any district is not the superintendent. It's not anyone sitting at the table over there. It's the teachers that are literally sitting there in front of the students that make the day-to-day. They're on the ground level. They're the ones that we have to provide like we did today. Kudos to them. Amazing staff development today and talking to some of the teachers and TAs in the hallway. But it's preparing them because nothing is more important than the ones that are sitting directly connected to our students. So those are the teachers. All right, this is where they're at. So when you look at this, our elementary staff, I don't have to read it all to you, but for... as you can see, each of the elementary buildings, it totals enrollment for our elementary is 1,634. You see the breakdown right there. And again, this is on the website. There's our secondary staff. So the enrollment at the middle school is 800 students. And our enrollment at the high school is 1,052. And we're in this weird area right now, right, because of Micron. So I was just at the Winter Institute, NISCUS, and this was a big topic. And they actually said, when you look at districts, it's not just Onondaga County, and the speaker mentioned Central Square. Because not only are we part of Onondaga County, but we have the available land. So we are going to see within the next 5-6 years, we are going to see some significant growth, and we are lobbying right now, so we're prepared. I don't want to disrespect City BOCES, but the campus, that's not that's an eyesore. I'll say it publicly. I don't want to say no fault to anybody, but they've got those pods, those mobile pods all over their campus, right? We want students like you saw that were in here today to take pride in their classroom, not to have mobile units. We know what's coming. The superintendents, I'm one of them, we're going to be going in May to Manassas, Virginia, because we need to see not only the site where Mike Ryan is, but we need to be able to talk to the local school district to say, what did you do to prepare for this? Not only what are the courses that you provide for micro-credentialing, because they were saying for technicians, those kids are walking right out and making $85,000. We don't have a starting teacher that makes $85,000. We don't have a teacher that's been here 10 years that makes $85,000. And so this idea that you had to go the college route of 4 years to be successful, the game has changed dramatically. And we want to be able to go down there so that we can see how they braced for that. But the lobbying was so that we can be prepared instead of all of a sudden we have 1,000 kids show up and then another 1,000 kids show up. And what would that look like? We're already looking at what it would look like through our architects to have a very similar wing built on to our elementary buildings because that may need it down the line. Special education. So here's an interesting fact. You hear people say all the time, Tom, I know the budget, $100 million. 20 years ago, there were 5,500 students. Now we have 3,500, 3,600. I know Mike is coming, but right now, how are we spending so much? If you look at the special education numbers, compare it to 20 years ago, we're way higher than now with even less students. So why is that? Well, the state continues to, and I'm not saying some of the things are bad, right? I don't want any parent of special needs kids saying, oh my God, they're referencing my kid as they're just dollars. Is that? No. But there are some rooms that people just need to understand where there could be 8 adults in that room. That room in itself could be $500,000 of staffing, just right there, or more, depending what's on the student's IEP, which we're required to follow, many of which come from other districts, the city of Syracuse, and we are legally required to follow that. And so that is a very significant cost. Again, we can stack it, we get aid back, but you got to have that money up front. Total teaching staff, it's a great slide. Total teachers, we have 336 teachers in our district. Teaching assistants, again, this is all driven by IEPs. So it could be a student that has a 2-to-1 or a student that has a 1-to-1, right? You could maybe go visit, your kid and see in the cafeteria, you see a bunch of adults. That's in the IEP, that they're there to be with those children. Building and grounds. I got to work very closely with some of the custodians and maintenance staff. They are great people. As you can see, total, we have custodians, 48, grounds, 6, maintenance, 5. These are amazing people, hard workers. And you know what? The majority of them, they live in this district. Clerical has a breakdown. As you can see, transportation. Again, hats off to Johnny Pierce. He's done a wonderful job. Johnny, similar to what I had said about Ron Haldeman, Johnny has given his heart and soul. I'm up at 3:30 in the morning throughout the winter. I'm texting and calling him and Paul Brissett starting at 3:30. He's talking to all the town supervisors who have profound appreciation for John Pierce. So we're in that process right now. It's a civil service position, but we want to make sure that the person that we replace John with is going to be amazing. That's something that I assure you that I take very seriously, and we will do. There's your non-instructional supervisors, nurses, monitors. Administrators. And again, for people to say some districts are top heavy administratively, we're not. We're not. We don't have a McKinney Vento officer, that's me. We don't outsource at $250 or $275 a pop for someone to do our superintendent hearings, that's me. If you look at that back table there, they've all filled in covering for elementary buildings. That's huge. So there are some districts that are shocked. Like when I share that that's what we do, they're like, why don't you just hire sub-administrators at $600 a day to sit there? Because we don't do that. Grant-supported salaries. I got to, again, give a shout-out to Erin and what she does and what Chrissy Smith does with DEI. It's pretty phenomenal. IDEA. It's pretty, third time's a try. It's pretty phenomenal of what they do, and things get kicked back because I get an email every time, and then I'll see Aaron will go in at 7 o'clock at night and fix something because I get that email back, and then it's kicked back, and then 8 o'clock she fixes it. Chrissy Smith, same thing. There's the hardest group of workers sitting right there. Budget highlights, you just got to experience a big highlight this earlier today. Again, during the pandemic, the problems were there, right? So when I see, this isn't supposed to be doom and gloom, oh, I'm scaring everybody, past the budget. I see every single Child Protective Services report. And during the pandemic, they probably multiplied by 5 that I would see weekly. But some of our kids, it's just what they go through. It's not only disgusting, deplorable, but what it does, it crushes their soul for some of these little ones. And it's really hard. It's hard when you see a second grader who was amazing behavior in kindergarten and first grade, no discipline problems, and then all of a sudden it's like a totally different kid, and it happens overnight. We know what happened. And then that's when we seem to be the bad guys, because then we have to CPS certain things and make reports. The county's getting better, but they're still understaffed. For a while, there were 4 CPS workers that were tasked to see thousands of kids. And so we would say, no, that kid can't be in that home. There's a neighbor. There's an older relative. They got to be out of there. And it is sad. But a lot of the jobs that we hired during the pandemic, we're not ready, we can't get rid of. I would never be the superintendent that recommends that we don't have a special patrol officer that's armed in any of our buildings. We can never go back to not having an elementary counselor. Again, this isn't me throwing shade on the people before me, but we didn't have counselors at the elementary level. And some of these kids have gone through so much stuff, but the mindset was between the principal and the school psychologist, they'll be able to handle those problems. They can't, right? We have, during the pandemic, I think the divorce rate in the country went up to like 72%, and it was really hard. Even those parents that did it amicably, that did the right thing, didn't argue in front of the kids, it's still an adjustment that the kids have to go through. And when you have the banana split groups and things like that, that's huge. The school psychologist day is testing for special education. You can't spread them so thin. But we also have social workers. I saw some here today. They are so connected to these families on what they need at a level that, I could mention them all. I'll mention one that's been with us the longest, Joe Moskal. When I sat with her 10 years ago when I oversaw the elementary buildings, her office, I want to say it was in Brewerton. There was a shower in there. I think it was like renovation of the thing. And she said to me, she said, Tom, I don't know how long you're going to stay with us. I don't know if you're going to move on to go be a superintendent in another district. But my dream is to be a school social worker and make sustained change with families. And she does that every day. every day. And she's not alone. She's got an amazing team. And what they're tasked with, literally, there are some days you want to go home and just cry. There's things that, like, when I see the look on Chrissy and Aaron and Kristen Enright, Aaron and Chrissy's face when they're talking about some of these things that the kids are going through. It's hard, but it makes me very happy knowing we got a great staff that doesn't give up on the kids. And that goes right to their teachers, our TAs, and our bus drivers who recognize the kid was a little off today. And they'll make the phone call, and it gets all the way up to us. And then sometimes that reveals there's other stuff going on. So it's having those eyes. And the goal is to maintain the progress that we have made, not go backwards. Budget increase, the actual budget increase, 5.41, which is less of an increase from a year ago to this year's budget. Tax levy increase, 6.86. But it's not really, right? And why do I say that? Because Maureen always has a slide, and it shows what the actual and what the estimated is. And that's going to be on our website, too. It's always about $1.50 or almost $2 less when it's the actual. That's after you hear talk about the equalization rates, and you talk about the 3 different buckets with assessments and whatnot. But it's never gone up. It's always gone down.
Tom, but just because it may confuse some people, the tax levy increases is also only a part of our budgetary increase.
Correct.
So that could be misleading in some senses. We are not increasing the taxes beyond what we need for the budget. In fact,
No, we're not.
because the piece from the state is only at 2%. So when
Correct.
those all work out, the budget increase becomes 5%.
That's
right?
exactly
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Well said. And as you can see, tax law. Okay, so the interfund transfer from debt service, that's $565,000. The health insurance, $625,000. Liquidation of non-spendable fund, almost $1 million. And the one-shot revenues that we're able to. Again, that's where Maureen gets very creative. Here's the thing. I've been here 10 years, and every year we talk about, oh, you can't go out with more than 4% of your foundation aid. You can't go out. You can't, your fund balance, fund balance. You can't go out more than 4%. You can't. And then we did, and the comptroller was like, no, that's not good. You got to put a letter out, but we just need to tell you that. Even though in the private sector, they do it all the time. I don't want to say, it probably wouldn't be appropriate for me to name the district, although I have in other settings. Their reserves in this county that we're in, for a district a quarter of our size, is $80 million. And yet, they always go out and they tax at the cap. They don't go beyond the cap. Remember, our cap is 6.86, but they always go out at that. They always go out at theirs. Theirs is probably like a 2.8. So if anyone says to you, well, we're going at 6.86, but the other districts are going out at 4, going out at 2, ask them what their cap is. Their cap is that. They go out at their cap. And if you don't go out at the cap, it's what I started this on, then the state says, you're not fiscally strained, because if you were, you'd be going out of your cap. No good deed goes undone. So again, let's catch up. 5.41 overall budget increase. As Christy said, the tax levy is just one piece of the puzzle. The details from, so this page right here, these are the details from the pie chart that was the second slide of the whole presentation. But again, you're going to have access, and then everyone's going to have access when we post it, to every single line item. As you can see, she highlighted the tax increase, which is why I wanted to say, when you look at our tax increase of 6.86, that's an increase of $92 for the whole year on a $100,000 house. When you look at a 5% increase, that only brings in $1.6 million. So going to the tax brings in $2.2 million. If we were to go out at 5%, that's $67. So instead of $92 per $100,000 house, it's $67 on a $100,000 house, and that brings in $1,600. That is a lot of money that is left on the table when we're tasked and we're faced with those things that parents get frustrated about. They want to know, why is it that we don't have more studio art, right? Why is it that we have kids starting practice at 8:30? Why is it that Red Hawk basketball can't get in, or youth lacrosse, or other youth sports? Because we just don't have the space. So we can try to bare bones it. And again, Maureen and Paul Brissett have done a wonderful job over the years to put out a high-quality program for a very low price. And we were able to do that because the state recognized the fact that we weren't getting 2%, right? And also, the inflationary costs are nowhere near than they are right now. So there's so many factors that make the perfect storm. As Christy said, there's the three parts. 6.86 levy increase is only one of the three parts. Again, keep in mind, this is what I was referring to earlier. The trend is it's always less. It's always gone down. So when you look at 2018-19, the estimated was $19.28. And the actual was $18.91. And as you can see, it continues to go down. And this is what we said. So on a $100,000 home, 6.86% increase. That's $92 on a $100,000 home. And again, assuming that the town assessment and the equalization rate are unchanged. So there are variables. There's the total enrollment trend. We are leveling off. For those of you who've been on the board for a while, you probably remember that the Seversky study that's still on our website somewhere, and it had talked about exactly what you see right here. Again, none of this has anything to do with Micron, because it's going to trend and it's going to go up. Balance the budget long term. Again, I've got, hopefully, 5 years left in the district. And the goal is that I would plan to retire after being superintendent 14 years and then pass the baton on. I want to make sure that we're not depleting our fund balance. I want to be fiscally sound. I never want to put this district in jeopardy. I want to be able to have more performances like you saw here today, continue to have our sports meet the needs for participation numbers of our students. And I want our course offerings to be strong, and I never, ever want to be in a situation where we have to tell the kids that want to go to CTE, I'm sorry, we're going to go back to trying to fit a square peg in a circle hole. Right? We can never go back to that. So then we see long-term CSI plan. That's something that we've been looking at. We have the idea of UPK, and Aaron's done a wonderful job. We are looking at that. We're hitting pause for that for next year, but that is a plan. That is something, and one of the reasons was that we talked about before, we thought we'd have a lot more interest because we can't have it both ways right now. Connects Care, this is very exciting. I've mentioned this before, but if anyone's watching this from home, this is the school-based healthcare that will be first at CSI. The second one that they would love to open would be at AA Cole. And it could even grow even more, they said, with Micron coming. So that would be teeth cleaning. That would be anything. If the kid's sick, the parent doesn't need to have to then bring them to their pediatrician. They would do it right there. That's huge. They'd be able to then write prescriptions. Again, this would be cost savings for families, because for some families that don't have insurance, doesn't matter. It's paid for by the state. It's a state program. It's not by our district. It's by the state. The only cost of the district is to build out the rooms the way they need to. And if any of you remember when a previous board decided it was a good idea, which they were 100% correct, to move our district office into the high school, we can interact more with the students, be another resource for the staff. Paul and his crew did all of that building. Paul's a contractor. And when we went to Mexico, he looked at it and was like, I could do this. I could do this. I can make that. This is great. We don't have to contract that out. So the goal is to get that up and running. The process it's a year-long process with the state. But what they could start immediately is the dental hygienic part, where they have mobile units that can do teeth cleanings and things like that, setting up at the different schools. That's going to be a huge resource for our families. We still look at alternative educational programming. Oftentimes, BOCES says we're full. And we have the teachers that are very frustrated because there's a student, let's say their behavior, what they're struggling with, it needs a much more restrictive environment. There's many hoops that the state education part make us jump through, and there has to be BIPs, behavioral improvement plans that are put in place. There has to be time to be able to do this, and then if the kid isn't coming to school regularly, we can't do that because you can't do it from home. So there's hurdles that we have to jump through, but we did once look at what it would look like to build our own programs, and that we could then we can get reimbursed for having those. So that's something that we're still looking at. All of that is very fluid right now. So then what's up next? And this is a big announcement. We are having 3 polling locations. Maureen's probably in Cabo right now, scratching her head going, what did he do? I left. But we had numerous feedback from families in Brewerton because of the planning, the site work that's going to go into the temporary bridge that's going to be there. That's going to be some issues. And so we looked at it and said, all right, Brewerton already has a location in the Brewerton Fire Department where they vote for their presidential elections. That's what we're going to do. So we're referring to that as polling place 3. Everyone in Onondaga County will go there to vote. There's also construction work that's going to be on Route 11. It's going to be a nightmare this spring. This is going to be able to alleviate that. Everyone in Onondaga County votes there, Brewerton Fire Department. But there was other confusion. For instance, one of the clerical in Aaron and Kristen's office, she lives 3 minutes from the American Legion, but she had to drive to Constantia to vote. And we were hearing this, and it was like, well, this street and then that street, and they're like, well, you can't just do that. That's gerrymandering the vote. NTS said you can't do that. But they had a great idea, and that's what we're going to do. Everybody in the town votes in the same location. So everybody in, as we just said, Onondaga County votes in the Brewerton Fire Department. Everybody in Hastings, West Monroe, and Parrish, and Central Square vote in the American Legion. Everybody in Constantia, Vienna, Amboy, Bernards Bay, Cleveland, vote in the Constantia location. And again, it eliminates the 2-bridge problem that we had, because for some of the people, if we didn't do that, they'd have to cross the bridge. Temporary. What's it going to be like in the spring? You can't make a decision after you put out the legal notices. So things could change, and they could expedite the work at Brewerton. This is going to solve all those problems. The fire chief was thrilled. The president of the fire department, Mrs. Patty Wicks, right, Pearl? Rita Wicks. Was on board, waived all haul charges, not going to cost the district anything to that. There is a $7,000 cost to rent that machine. We own the other machines, which we feel, given all of the construction work and all the other stuff, it can be an absolute nightmare, so that is worth it. We will have more polling people needed, but one of the big things that we did last year is not making them get there at 6 a.m. I believe it started at 8 a.m., right? And the one at 6 a.m., they actually had to get there earlier than that, 5 o'clock. And that was really hard for the polling workers. So, again, why do I say all that? Because when it comes to vote, May 20th, we want to make sure that we have no confusion. NTS will be sending the postcards out to everybody on where they're going to be able to go and vote. All of the buses are diesel. They are not electric. And there'll be a sign that says that, because there was some confusion before. The people were saying they were going to vote it down because of the electric buses. There's none of that, right? We will be putting out a referendum in December of next school year for 2 electric buses, but we're going to be doing that in December. We're not going to be doing that at the end of the year because some people are just voting no for everything because they're just so frustrated with the timeline rolled out by the state education department and the governor regarding electric buses. So Onondaga Central did this. It got voted down, but they did it in December. So at least it will show the state that we have tried, because if they continue to drag their heels and not changing the deadline, I said this to 3 politicians that had no idea how districts bond for buses, that it's a 10-year plan, replacement strategy. We can't just say, oh, you know, yeah, we can do it in a year. We're not a small district like West Hill. This would take planning. Any questions? Maureen returns on Wednesday. And
You promised us not to go backwards. You're backwards from Maureen. I'm just saying that. I'll just let you know.
I am 100% backwards from Maureen. I will second that, Steve. Thank you, sir. That is very smart. Maureen, they said they're holding the question. Got it right here on my phone.
Thanks.
No,
Tom.
so again, when we looked at this,
No, again.
I just want to say Maureen's great. All right, thank you, everybody.
I'll make a motion, Steve.
Okay. All right, so we're on to item E. Can I get a motion for item E in its entirety?
I'll make a I'll second.
Did you get that, Pearl? Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, can I get a motion for item F in its entirety?
Casey's motion, I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Item G. Mateo's not here. Any board members have anything they'd like to discuss? No? You ready, Tom?
Yeah, real quick. I just got it real quick. Usually Mateo reads all mine, but
Oh, you're here.
there it is. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. The Central Square Middle School Math League had its final meet yesterday afternoon. The top 5 finishers for our school that attended the meet were Thon Fawn, Dario Marino, Alex Fenton, Caden Gardner, and Dylan Cox. The first place finisher for Central Square Middle School was Thon Fawn. The team accrued a total of 84 points over the season, placing them in 9th place out of 22 schools. Congratulations to all the competitors. You made our school community very proud. Central Square Middle School 8th grader Kendall Hannes has been selected to attend the U.S. Navy Academy Summer STEM program for rising 9th graders. This program will take place in Annapolis at the U.S. Naval Academy. Kendall will get to live at the U.S. Naval Academy for 6 days in June 2nd to June 7, and work alongside USNA midshipmen and work toward her dream of becoming a mechanical engineer in the U.S. Navy. Kendall was one of 100 students selected from a pool of over 4,000 applicants. We are so proud of her. Yeah, that's awesome. And what she brings to the Central Square Middle School. Amazing things. Congratulations to our winner scholar athlete teams. Again, to be a winner scholar athlete, 95% of the staff or the team, the athlete, had to have a 90 or above. So the difference between scholar athlete and a scholar athlete team. Girls and boys basketball teams, girls and boys bowling, rifle, boys and girls indoor track and field and cheerleading. That's amazing. That really is. How many teams have A averages? The following students from PVM High School DECA chapter attended the New York State DECA competition from March 5 to March 7, 2025 at the Rochester Convention Center. They competed against approximately 3,500 students from across the state of New York. We are so unbelievably proud of all of our students who attended the state competition, and for those who qualified to attend the International Career Development Conference in Orlando, Florida in April. Third place, Cadence Graham, Emma Lacey. Fifth place, Zachary Card, William Card, and Chloe Sheehan. Top 10 overall finalists, Jonah Martinez, Abby Tetrall, Avery Sheehan, Connor Peterson, Andrew Lands, and Andrew Card. Top 10 role play, Owen Chapman, C. Gibbs, Jack Mabel, Delana Humphrey, Jonah Martinez, Cadence Graham, Emma Lacey, Chloe Sheehan, Sarah Hulbert, Connor Peterson, Andrew Lands, and Andrew Card. Top 10 test, Zachary Card, William Card, Connor Peterson, and Andrew Card. DECA Honor Society inductees, Avery Sheehan, Summer Fetter, and Jack Mabel. Now, I also want to give a quick shout out to the all district band that was amazing 2 nights ago, right? No, I'm sorry. It was Saturday. It was on Saturday. It was here. Wait a minute. Now I'm confusing two things. Thursday was the all district. They all came in. There were 220 students performing there. Saturday, I was at, and many administrators at that table were there as well, watching our Drumline home show, and they did a wonderful job. Our middle school also came in first place. We're very proud of them. At this point, I will introduce Mr. Ted Love, who wants to just really quickly talk about something called Parent Square, which many of the districts already use, and the PTO presidents are very excited about. Ted Love.
Awesome. Can you folks hear me? I just want to give a quick update just so you're aware. If you haven't heard, we will be transitioning our communication parent engagement platform to an app called Parent Square. You don't have to have the app, so it also works over text messaging and email. Couple key pieces I just want the board to be aware of is that it will be replacing our Blackboard notification system in July. Okay, so July, we're taking the Blackboard system, putting that out to pasture, and the Parent Square platform will be fully employed by everyone in the district. However, beginning in April next month, we have a couple departments in one building that are going to start using it as a pilot group. So we've got athletics, transportation, and Hastings Mallory Elementary School that are going to start using it. And we're doing that on purpose so that we can start to get our feet wet, we can get some feedback on it, we can support a smaller group of staff. It's a little bit lighter on the training load, and then we can use those lessons learned as we transition the entire district. I do want and will put information out to the parents and the community know that unfortunately there's no way to turn it on for just some people. So everyone in the district next month will be getting information about setting up their Parent Square account. So even if your kid goes to a different school, you're still going to get onboarded because the platform is set up for the entire district. However, parents will still get notifications through whatever platform it is that their building's using, right? So students at Brewerton will still get Blackboard messages. The biggest thing is this is not just the blast system, right? So that sends the text out. It will still do that, but it also is a teacher-to-home platform. So each teacher can send messages to their students. And one of the great things, and I wanted to be sure to mention that many of the staff members I've already talked to already use it. There are many other districts in our area that are using the app, and so the teachers are very familiar with it. And one of the great things is, for example, I have it for my own children, and when your kid's in a secondary setting and they have all these different teachers, right? Who's my kid's chemistry teacher and algebra 2 teacher? I can go on the Parent Square app and I see all my kids' teachers, and I can click one button and send them all a message or send a message. So it really is an all-encompassing communication platform. Everyone's raised. Yep, and that's all I've got for the Parent Square update. So just want to be aware, next month people are going to start getting those notifications that they're onboarding, but the only people who are going to be using it in April are transportation. Some of our athletics coaches are going to start. Jamie's going to start with some of his coaches using it, and Hastings Mallory is going to go all in since they have a new principal and a new secretary. They were just like, let's go, let's give it a shot. We're ready to go, and then we're going to use what we've learned to make sure it's successful for everybody.
And so if anyone asks, why are you doing this? That's another thing for us to learn. Blackboard was discontinued at the end of this year. The company, it shut down. And so there's that, but we also, it's kind of like a win-win and catch-all because we didn't want coaches texting their players anymore. We didn't want that. And so as a result of that, some of the coaches have been using Remind, but then there's Ed 2D law that it's not supported anymore. And so this we'll check off all the boxes that we need. My kids use Parent Square. It's really easy for me to communicate with their teachers using it. It's simple. Thus concludes my superintendent report.
Okay. On to item H. Now, we've got a couple of things that we're going to do, and I'm going to break this down. We're going to take H1, which is approval of the first reading of proposed district policies. We're going to take these one at a time. So if I could get an approval for 7420, Sports and Athlete Program.
I'll motion.
Can I get a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, motion passed. Now, can I get a motion for 7554, Equal Educational Opportunities? Can I get a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? On to the third one. Can I get a motion for 7555, Educational Services for Married Pregnant Students? Can I get a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, on to H2, approval of transportation proposal resolution. This is a roll call vote. So can I get a motion to, I'm going to do a motion, right, Pearl? Can I get a motion for this proposal?
I'll motion.
Second?
Allison said she would.
Any discussion? Pearl, you want to do the roll call, or?
Sure. Steve Pat,
Yes.
Christy Fishman,
Yes.
Allison Douglas, Randy Hoyt, Brian Mather, Casey Maury, Ken Sherman, Dave Tackman, Lori Wood.
Okay, thank you. H3, approval of the resolution nomination candidate for City BOCES Board. We have Allison Douglas. Can I get a motion for that? A second? Ken, any discussion? Okay, we'll do that. It's a roll call vote.
Steve Pat,
Yes.
Christy Fishman,
Yes.
Allison Douglas, Randy Hoyt, Brian Mather, Casey Maury, Ken Sherman, Dave Tackman, Lori Wood.
Congratulations. Thank you very much for doing that. And then if I could get a motion for H4 and H5 together.
I'll motion.
Can I get a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? And then on to item I, adjournment. Get a motion? Casey. Very enthusiastic. Can I get a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Look, the clock's caught up, though.